This 3D mesh of a panda was created using a 2D image and a depth map. Let me show you what it looks like in solid mode. This is what it looks like in solid mode. And here's the side angle. And then on the back side, it's completely sealed. Let's create this from the very beginning. I'm going to select everything in the scene by pressing A, then press X and delete. Then I'm going to move all the way up to the top and click on Open Image to find the panda, which is this one here. I'm going to go back into Material Preview mode in the top right. So here's the original image. Next is finding the corresponding depth map, which is this one here. Then I'm going to leave the depth strength at 0.4. zForm defaults to 1, so I actually adjusted this down. Then I'm going to leave the subdivision at 9 and the smooth factor to 1. Go all the way down to the bottom and click on Apply Depth Map. And this is what the 3D mesh looks like. Let me go back into solid mode again. So this is the 3D mesh. What's missing is we need to remove the entire backside of the mesh as well as seal the backside. So that's the next thing we're going to do. Go down to the background removal section and enable the use BG removal. That's going to create a new cube that looks like this. This cube will be used as a Boolean object so we can cut out the entire backside of the mesh and fill it. I'm going to scale the cube to be a little bit bigger than the actual mesh like this here, and I press S to scale. Then I'm going to go into side view by pressing 3. I'm now going to scale down the cube on the y-axis by pressing SY and scale down. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then I'm going to move the cube along the y-axis by pressing GY and then move it back. Whatever part of the mesh is inside this cube will be cut out. So let me get a closer look. I'm going to press GY again and go back more. Okay, I want to get it pretty close to the backside. That looks good. Type in 7 to go to the top view. Everything looks good. Let me go back in the front view. Now we're going to reference the cube to cut out the backside. So in the bottom right, click on this eyedropper, select the cube object like that, and it might take a few seconds to remove the background. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Now you'll see one issue. There are 2 outlier vertices in the mesh, one on the top right and one on the bottom left. We have 2 options. We can either remove those 2 vertices after we apply all modifiers, or we can adjust the cube a little bit more to see if it will remove those vertices, as well as seal the backside. Let's try the latter first. I'm going to select the cube once more. I'm going to go to a side angle like this here, but then go a little bit further back. That way I can see the outlier vertices, as well as be able to move the cube on the y-axis and to ensure to seal the backside. Now I'm going to press GY and then I'm going to move very slightly to the right, just one at a time, and we might be able to remove those outlier vertices just by moving the cube. Oh, it looks like they're gone. So I'm going to press Enter and then I'm going to go back into the front view to see if they were removed. Let me move in a little bit and everything looks pretty good. Let me go to the backside again. The vertices, outlier vertices have been removed. So that's how you do it. If indeed the main object in the scene is touching one of the edges of the image, I have a separate video how to handle that, and I'll include a link in the description. You might be wondering which add-on I'm using in the side panel. It's actually my own tool. It's called zForm. I developed the tool to speed up my workflow quite a bit. Instead of manually having to add all the modifiers on the right side in the modifiers panel, I can instead do everything in just a few simple clicks in the tool. That being said, let me cover which modifiers I'm using if you want to manually do this by hand. The first one is subdivision. The next is displace, and displace is where you reference your depth map. The third is smooth. The fourth is solidify. And the last 2 modifiers are for the background removal. The first one is subdivision. I have it renamed to BG_subdivision in the tool. And the very last one is a Boolean modifier. It's renamed to background remove. Make sure to use the difference and then fast for solver. And for the reference object, just reference the cube that we've been working with earlier. One thing about the cube is I set the display to bounds. Let me show you how to do that. So go into the object section on the right and scroll all the way down till you see viewport display and expand that out. Then go to display as and choose bounds. For generating depth maps, I use my other Blender add-on tool called Depth Map Batch. It can generate depth maps for a batch of images in a directory, a video file, or a single image, and can generate 16-bit depth maps for 8-bit images. Similar to zForm, I built the tool so that I can speed up and keep my workflow within Blender rather than having to use external tools. The depth maps are generated entirely locally on your own machine. There are no APIs and no web services. But you can generate depth maps online in places like Hugging Face or set up your own local environment in something like Comfy UI. However, I wanted to keep my workflow within Blender. Okay, that's all I got.